DaVinci, which editing software are you using currently? Because every single time I make a video about DaVinci Resolve, the views go up, which tells me that a lot of you are very interested in this software. So today I'm making another video. We're talking 5 different tips to create better, higher quality time lapses in DaVinci Resolve Studio. Let's go. One of the most common mistakes or errors that you see in beginners when they're doing time-lapse is, of course, flickering. How do you prevent that? There's a number of ways. I've made videos about that in the past, but if you do end up with flickering, how do you deflicker it? Well, there is a built-in deflicker mode specifically for time-lapse footage in DaVinci Resolve. So go to your effects browser, look for the deflicker effect, drag it onto your clip, enable time-lapse, and it's that simple. Doesn't work perfectly for everything. If you want the highest possible quality deflickering, obviously LR time-lapse is still the way to go. Got plenty of videos about that. But yeah, this is a great little built-in deflicker feature. Now, another rookie mistake: if you have a low quality tripod, or you're on a moving bridge, or it's a bit windy and you're shooting on a long lens, your footage might be a bit shaking. This footage I actually shot handheld because we weren't allowed tripods up there. I pushed my body against a column on this viewing deck and I just let the camera run a time lapse while holding it with a stabilized lens, and I used the grid or maybe a focus point in my viewfinder to keep the camera as steady as possible. And then in post there are a couple of methods of stabilizing. There's the built-in stabilizer which you can play with, but that didn't work on this footage, so then you can go into the Fusion tab and you can work with the planar tracker. If you want to see a bigger video about the planar tracker, which is extremely powerful, please let me know in the comments. That is something that is also very good for hyperlapse footage, obviously. But yeah, the planar tracker just made this look pretty damn stable, as if I shot it from a tripod. So that's another great little tip to create higher quality time-lapse footage. Up next, this was a subject of a previous video, but it is so good that I want to include it here. It's the motion blur. It is creating motion blur-esque footage from separate frames, combining them together to give you the illusion of long exposures. It's not perfect, but to me it looks better than quite high shutter speed, erratic looking time lapses. It's not as good as actually shooting long exposures in camera, which you can do with ND filters, but it looks better in my opinion than what comes straight out of camera. So if you want more info about that effect, check out the previous video here. I cover that for hyperlapse footage to create better looking hyperlapses. Then if you have a relevant monitor, and I've got some updates about that soon on my end, HDR scopes, where you can color grade your footage, your raw files, your videos in higher brightnesses. You can do HDR video editing or video color grading on your time-lapse footage in DaVinci Resolve Studio. Also probably the subject of a future video. Let me know in the comments. I need some more input from you all, what you want to see on this channel. And then it's not one thing, it's a bunch of things. There are so many fun effects built in that you can use in your timeline, in your time-lapse edit, to elevate the experience that the viewer has when they're looking at your work. One of my favorite things that I love doing is shooting a hyperlapse in the day and then shooting the same hyperlapse at night and then having a fun transition. This is the Luma transition, which depending on the brightness of the footage will transition from bright to dark first or the other way around. There's so many other great effects, and I think one of the following videos will be more about this collection of effects I would use in my edit to kind of add a little layer of production quality to give the viewer a better, a more intense experience when they're watching your work. Hope you enjoyed this quick little video. If you want to learn more about time-lapse and hyperlapse, if you want to start with the basics, I've got the basics of time-lapse photography, got a couple of the courses. That all comes out of the Ultimate Time-Lapse course, which I have worked very hard on, and I keep updating that with new content coming very soon, so check that out. It's got amazing reviews by a ton of people, and you can support the channel with that. I don't have a lot of sponsors on here, so I would appreciate you checking out my store. That's all for now. Hope you're good. Thanks for being here, and may the clouds forever be in your favor. Bye bye.